Well, welcome back to the Ready, Set, Go podcast series. This one is going to be a little bit different. We're talking about the importance of humor in ministry, and we're going to kick it off with a little dad joke off. I'm Phil Dark.
I'm Grant Shepard.
And the rules of this are quite simple. We tell a dad joke to each other. If we get the other one to laugh, 2 points. If we get our crew to laugh, bonus point. So this is the one time, our amazing, incredible crew is going to be part of this podcast. Hopefully one of us at least will get them to laugh. So Grant, why don't you kick it off?
I'd like you to kick it off as your host.
Oh, is that right? Well, that's very kind of you. But since I'm the host,
leaders go last.
Okay. I will, just because I know that we're going to do this well. Here we go.
I also want to know what your standard is to know which joke to go for.
Okay, there we go. Okay. So, I used to hate facial hair, but then it grew on me. Okay,
I'm very disappointed that she laughed.
Yeah.
I told my wife she was drawing her eyebrows too high. She looked surprised.
You can't do that. Okay. Since we're on the wavelength of our wives, I told my wife she should embrace her mistakes. So she gave me a hug. Okay.
That's exactly why I've been hugging you this week.
Yes, I know.
I used to play piano by ear, but I now use my hands.
Okay. That I think I looked at that one earlier today, so that's probably why. But this one, it doesn't count. It counts. It's always not. No one laughed. That wasn't even close. Okay, this one's pretty appropriate for us. Why don't some couples go to the gym? It's because some relationships don't work out. I heard a chuckle. There was a chuckle.
You didn't hear a chuckle.
Oh, there was easily.
There was no chuckle.
Anyway, okay, third one, and then we'll get kicked off.
Well, as you are on the gym theme, what do chickens do at the gym? Work on their pecs. Come on, you want to?
No, not even. No. But Shania did, so you get
I love
a point.
Shania.
Yeah. So we all do. Who wouldn't? Okay, so now we're actually gonna get into what the real stuff here. We're gonna get into the real stuff here. That was fun.
I was just getting warmed up.
Yes, I know. We could go on for a lot longer, but we don't have the time today, unfortunately. But maybe we can do a part 2 to this, and we can do more dad jokes, because I'm sure that's what everyone wants. But we are going to get into some.
What is the score though? Was I winning?
I don't think we kept score in that. We didn't keep score.
I think I'm in the lead, so you're right. We don't need to do anything.
Okay. So as we do this, as we kick this off, why is humor an important but often overlooked tool in ministry? What do you think about that?
I reckon. Well, I guess for me, it was really important in life, full stop. I'm thinking about, even before I came to Jesus, I'm in my sports team, and I loved the sport. I loved the guys I played with, and part of loving the guys was on and off the field. We had fun. We took the sport seriously, but we had fun, right? We would have some nicknames for one another, most of them appropriate. There was healthy banter, which people signed off on as opposed to it being abusive. And we laughed a lot. And I think one of the things that took me back to my sports team and its training and its playing and having a drink with the guys and getting to know them and their families was that connection of the common cause of the sport, but also we just liked one another because we laughed with one another.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Proverbs actually says a cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up bones, right? And so I think even in personal pastoral context, humor is important. Humor is just something, it lightens moods. A lot of times ministry is tough. Ministry is hard. Ministry is something that just drains us, right? And so to just lift it up with a joke, lift it up with just some fun, lift it up with that humor, and we'll get into kind of the flip side. Everything has its shadow, so we got to be careful. But at the beginning, I think it's just to really recognize that humor is an important part, and not everyone has the same sense of humor, right? Some people would not enjoy the humor that we have been able to share with each other. Other people.
You mean those jokes?
Yes, those jokes, other things just in life, right? Those jokes, some people would say, I never want to hear that again. That's probably very likely of what people are doing there.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that about a couple of your jokes.
Well, probably. One of them, I could have delivered it better. I've been known to deliver poorly sometimes, and I think that was one of them. But that's okay.
Don't be so harsh on yourself.
Yes, well, I appreciate it. So the next question we're going to get into is how can ministry leaders use humor without compromising the seriousness of the gospel, because that's the other side of it, right? Again, the gospel is obviously we're sharing the gospel with people. We're going into sports ministry context to help people know the love of Christ, to know these. And so how do we do this in a way that doesn't take away from really the fact that we are bringing a message of grace, a message of mercy, a message of forgiveness, which, is not funny.
Yeah.
But I think we can take I think on this, we can really take the lead from Jesus, who I think was funny. I mean, like you look on the road to Emmaus, right? He's like, hey guys, what are you guys talking about? Yeah. Oh, don't you know? And he's like, no, tell me, and obviously he knew. And then he tells them, he doesn't reveal himself till later. He's on the beach with the guys out on the boat. Hey guys, what you doing out there? You want some fish? And so I think that there's some joking that he can do in the midst of extremely serious things. So what do you think about that? How can we do that?
Yeah, and I think obviously there's a difference between joking and trying to be funny, like we were at the top of this show.
Yes.
But I think also it's like having a countenance. The passage you read in Proverbs 17 is like, a cheerful heart's a good medicine, but a broken spirit saps a person's strength. So we know that the context of that could be, well, if I'm feeling depressed, the opposite to joyful, then I do feel broken. My strength is sapped. That's not fun, and we've all been there. Some stay there, sadly, for a while. So the opposite then is that joyful heart. Now, joy is different to happiness. It's like you could make me happy with a funny joke, or if we went to something and we just had a great time with lots of laughs, I'm happy, but I may not be joyful. Right. So the joy of the Lord is my strength, and things could suck in life, like really bad, but his joy is still my strength. But I think sometimes we don't radiate that as believers. Right. And it's like some people wander around looking like their pet cats just died.
Yeah. I remember that in Amistad. I don't know if you've seen that movie. But the Christians are outside, and these prisoners have just come from Africa, and so the slaves are in prison. Yeah. And they're looking out, and they're seeing the Christians singing, and they say, why do they look so sad all the time? Right? Why are they down? I don't get this. The words don't match the people and their countenance, right? And their affect.
For sure. And I think it's like that question about the balance. I think it's really important. So the first thing for me is perspective. Mm-hmm. It's like if we know that, hey, he's the God of life and he's wired me, and it's like, I'm a father, I know you are, Phil, and it's like when our children are happy and they are joyous, and what they're happy about or doing is fun and wholesome, it's like, it just makes you smile as a father. Yeah. It's like my kids are laughing, I laugh. And so it's like when we're happy and joyous and flowing in a part of what he calls the abundant life that he came to give, and we're showing it because we're knowing it, and I think if we know it, we do show it, regardless of what happens, then I think that makes him smile. I don't need to be funny to get God's approval, but I need to be joyful because that's my strength. And if a joyful heart is a good medicine, that's for me as an antidote to combat what the world can bring to me to try and take me down, and what the enemy has in store for me. But I think also it's a medicine to others. Yeah. If you've got a great medicine to somebody's cure, it's like you want to give it away. Now, we know that's Jesus, but that includes the joy of the Lord. And I think, we all like being around somebody who's fun. Not over the top, right, but somebody who's fun, because it just waters you like a plant. Yeah. And so it's like, I like being around fun people because, sometimes I just need that. Ministry is tough, and there's tough decisions to make. And it's like, you've just lightened my day and taken me somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even just what we're doing here in Orlando, we're making a bunch of videos, we're making a bunch of podcasts, we're doing a lot.
Right.
It's go, 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 go. It's stress and it's this and it's memorize. Right. And at the end of the day, it's like, let's just go, grab some food together, joke around, have some laughs. And it's such a release. Right. And if you're not doing that, it's really easy to just go, 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 go. And just you're going to explode at some point. We talk, there's other podcasts talking about burnout and things like that. Yeah. I think that humor and just like you said, that joyful, that cheerful heart, that you can help bring to somebody else, and you can also have it yourself. Right now, there are people who are joking around all the time and they're not cheerful and they're just doing it as a defense mechanism. Yeah, of course, that's a different podcast for a different day. I think that's not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about being obnoxious. We're not talking about always being that joker and you always have to be the class clown and never serious. Yeah, because it is serious, and that's going
and that can be irritating, right?
Absolutely. And I talked about this recently, is the gospel is offensive enough in itself. Yeah. Right, to a lot of the world. Yeah. Right? And Jesus basically called us to be selectively offensive. Yeah. Don't be offensive in who you are and what you do and what you say, but the gospel will offend people. Yeah. And that's not it is what it is, right? And but how can we be attractive and use humor in an attractive way, right? And I think that is something that, we gotta be careful in that, though, because there is sarcasm, there are other things, and I think this is a good way to kind of transition into a lot of what we do and a lot of what people do in the sports movement is cross-cultural ministry. Yeah. Right? Whether it's cross-cultural to urban to rural or rural to urban, or whether it's cross-cultural from California to Cambodia, right? Like what are some practical ways we can build connection? We can break down some of those barriers in ministry while not offending and while not being obnoxious. So, maybe you can answer that better than me. I don't know.
Probably not, but
yeah, right.
Well, I think part of being a leader, because we're trying to grow and mature as leaders, and I actually think this is really important. It's lighthearted, and we're not trying to turn leaders into comedians. Right. I don't think that's what we're saying, but we're saying it's like life is full of memories and moments, and even if I think about this week in Orlando, mixing with people from different cultures, it's like, what a joy to find out about them and their families and their ministry and change lives and so on, because I'm most interested in that, regardless of how they are. But I really connect well with somebody who's, relatively humorous and shares and has got stories, funny little anecdotes or something linked to life and ministry. And I think part of our thing is discernment as leaders, right? Trying to say the right thing at the right time to the right person, whether we're reaching them or trying to grow them or just get to know them. And we've all got that wrong. So I think it's like wisdom and discernment, understanding the person. And then if you're tempted to enlighten them or engage or have a humorous moment, first looking through the lens of saying, will they get this? What's my motive for this? Yeah. Am I just trying to be funny? Do I run the risk of offending them? And hey, I've got that wrong a lot of times. But I think that's one of the beauties of building relationships is you spend time, you build trust, you get to know somebody's sense of humor as well as their likes and their passions. And then you share those stories that are either really serious or lighthearted, because both help grow someone.
Absolutely. No, that's so good. And I even think of some over the last few days with us. We've been joking around and we say something to somebody and that's just blank stare, right? Because
I get that often.
I do too. And
I just didn't think it would come from the person I married.
Well, I was going to say my wife and kids are the main culprits of that blank stare. But yeah, I think that there are some of that's lost in translation with culture. Some of it's just personality. Some of it's things like that. So I think what you said is so important, is to take that second. And it could be 5 seconds sometimes with guys like you and me.
Because you can't press rewind.
Right, yeah. Once you say something, you can't take it back. He's like, no. Right? But I think that to take that 3-5 seconds, sometimes, maybe just a second, to say, will this translate?
Yes.
Is this just something I'm doing because I'm just on a roll and I can't stop myself? And then, okay, then stop yourself. If it's something that, will this be offensive? We talked about this earlier today, that, sarcasm actually means tearing of the flesh.
Yeah.
Right. And when I heard that in a sermon, I said, ooh, I probably shouldn't be doing this. Because even if it's something that, if it's sarcastic and if it's done in the sense of I just want to jab something and do it, whatever.
Right.
Really ask the question: is this edifying in any way?
Yeah.
Ever?
Yeah.
Usually the answer is no. But sometimes we get into that, especially as athletes, where we're going, this is what we did in the locker room. This is what we've done our whole life. This is what we did in high school. This is what we did in junior high. And it just continues and continues and continues. And we have friends who we do it with. But the problem is, even if I'm okay doing it with you, what about the person here who's with us, or even just listening to us at the table next to us, and they hear us say something like, man, why would Phil say that?
Do you think we did that this morning? At the
I don't know that we said that this morning, but probably because
I think you probably did.
I probably have at some point this week, for sure. But I think it's so hard to just always, rather than always going, I got to look around to see who's here before I can say this sarcastic comment. It's like, do we really need it?
Yeah.
Will it really build up our friendships? Will it really help others? Because if I'm saying something sarcastic to you, we, even if we've known each other for 50 years, which we haven't, but if I say something sarcastic to you, part of that you're going to go, is that really true?
Yeah.
Does he really think that about me?
Yeah.
And that's, how is that helpful? Right. And so anyway.
Yeah. And that's why I did put in a request for a new roommate.
Right. Well,
week.
Yes, of course. Yes.
But no, I think you're right. And it's like, I'd like to apologize to everybody that, my sarcasm has maybe cut you, and forgive me. But I think you're right. It's like sensing what's right at the right time, coming back to that. And I think, as leaders, we should be accountable to one another. And that comes into the humor stakes. Sometimes if you're in a joyous comedy moment, you know what it's like. It's a bit like, it's a bit like at the breakfast diner this morning. You don't need those extra eggs and all of the offering that's on there, but you sometimes get on a roll. And, I had extra toast this morning. I didn't need it. Now, not that that's wrong, but like you just said, oh, you're going for that as well? I didn't think you were going to eat anything. And it's like, sometimes you just need a check. Mm-hmm. And, you can be on a roll, with your humor. And maybe because we've all got blind spots, I think we can have blind spots sometimes with humor. And you think you're adding to the environment at the time, which is helping people, or it's just funny and it's helping people relax. But maybe you're close to crossing a line, and your buddy sees it coming, or has just heard something differently to what you meant it to mean. Right. And that's when I think a good buddy just says, gives you a little kick on the shin, or just says, walk eye, and hold fire.
Absolutely.
But I would say that, the healthy, if we get it right, I think in ministry, it's tough sometimes to switch off. The guys and girls who do it really well know that it feels like a 24/7 job, but the Lord should come first, and then it's our family, and then it's our ministry, right? But sometimes, if we're really honest, we're constantly consumed. And therefore, what I found, for instance, like the fun we had on the bus on the way back, where we were just in this whole role-playing world yesterday, and we were just cackling to one another, and hopefully nobody else heard it, but it was just lighthearted fun. But it's like, that's our sense of humor, and we connect like that, number one. But number two, it's like, it's healthy, because yesterday was a great day, but it was intensive, like a day in ministry back home.
Yes.
And so whether you chill out watching a movie, or laughing with your spouse and your children, or whether you watch a comedy film, or whether you've got a friend that you can just have downtime with and just laugh about stuff, and lighthearted without hurting anybody, that's healthy. Absolutely. That's where that medicine kicks in, because I came off the bus yesterday just feeling like that was a busy day, but I still feel good.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that goes to, how can we make humor and engage in humor with each other that uplifts rather than puts down and offends, right? Because what you don't want is to do that same thing with someone who doesn't really get it, and then they go back to their room and they're drained more.
Yeah.
And they're hurt, and they're like, do I really want to keep doing this? Because if this is what the people are like, I don't want to be a part of this, right?
Yeah.
And I've probably done that with people. I know I've done that with people because people in high school came to me 10 years later and go, you really offended me in high school. I was like, can I ask for your forgiveness? Because I was like, oh my gosh, I probably did because I wasn't thinking about other people. Yeah. I was thinking about, do people think I'm funny?
It's a really good point. And I didn't think about this until you've just said this, but it's like I was leading a mission trip to another part of Europe quite a few years ago, and we had a beautifully culturally diverse team. There was a Bible college in a church in my city, and it attracted a lot of internationals. So it was fantastic to have guys and girls there from different countries, which meant on this mission trip, those that said yes were also from different countries, although currently from based in the UK. And although some of the guys knew one another well, one of the guys who's a very good friend of mine has a terrific sense of humor. He's got funny bones, and people know that he's pretty lighthearted. He's very good at what he does. Loves Jesus, very serious about mission, but he's funny. He's a bit of a jokester. And that's a great dynamic to have on a team because it can get full on a mission trip, right? Mm-hmm. So I love having him there, but he crossed a line on one trip. And I heard bits and bobs, but obviously not everything. And a really good friend of his who was also on the mission trip, who seemed to be able to take it, snapped and just came up to me and said, I need to talk to you about him. And I said, oh, I thought you guys were really close friends. And he says, well, we are, and we know one another. He said, but this is now getting me down. I just feel like I'm targeted. I feel like I'm his target.
Yep.
And the guy doing it didn't have bad intentions, and he didn't even realize he was targeting him. He just thought, I'm being funny to everybody, but kind of at one guy's expense slightly.
Absolutely.
He just slightly crossed that line, and we had to rein it in and pray together and get it back on track.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talked about that. It's like the accountability in it too. Yeah. We need to go to those people and say it in a way that is like, hey, look, you're funny. Yeah. And that's awesome. And that's part of who you are. And how can we do it in a way that uplifts rather than offends? We want it to be an uplifting thing rather than something that's dragging and bringing people down. And you might be on a trip with a bunch of people who are super reserved. Yeah. And then you're there, the one guy who wants to just joke around all the time. You got to be really careful with that because very likely someone will be offended in that group. So very likely it will be dragging down probably a few of them, if not all. I mean, I know a couple of my kids do not do sarcasm. They just don't.
No.
And you know that. And and every so often I will mess up and say something that is even borderline sarcasm. And it will tear them down. And that actually fractures relationship.
It does. It can go the wrong way. And I think conversely, an important thing to get across is it's like, as well as being really careful and checking your motive with your humor in every situation. But I think also it's like there's a temptation. It's like if you're a light-hearted guy or a girl and you've got a good sense of humor, or so you think, or so others tell you, but you think, I'm in ministry, or I'm now a believer, and we've got to be deadly serious about stuff. And so therefore you rein it in, and you think, I can't let it out. Hang on a minute. God's wired you like that. Mm-hmm. And that is, if you get it right, as you've just described, that's a blessing.
Absolutely.
It's honoring to God because he's wired you like that and needs you in that place, in that team, that sports team, in that ministry team, in that church, in your group setting, in your training team, where you might have a couple of people who are great, lovely people, but they're a bit more serious. And you bring a light-hearted element to that.
Yeah.
Crucial.
Absolutely.
100%. Like a soup. It's like you're an ingredient that's needed or it doesn't taste as good. And so you're not the joker,
right?
But you're carrying something of God that can lighten up a room. That if you don't bring it out, it's like you might not help people be at their best.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So that just so many things are going on there. And I think that it's like, it makes me think of the salt, right? Be seasoned with salt and be salt of the earth. Too much salt It's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Right? If you dump a bunch of salt on your food, it's going to taste terrible.
Like those chips last night?
Exactly. So the last thing I want to wrap it up with is, do you have a story where humor helped navigate a difficult moment in ministry? And as you're thinking about it, I got one that I'll kind of prime the pump with. And so I have a good buddy of mine. It's actually not mine. It's a friend of mine who went to the Middle East, and he was invited to meet with one of the top sheikhs in the world. Not a milkshake, but a sheikh in the
That's a sheikh.
the Sunni, or I can't remember if it was a Sunni or Shia, but it was one of the literal, like, this guy trained ISIS guys. Right. And so he asked to meet with my friend because he wanted to meet with a Christian from the United States to talk about how he was not behind all of the ISIS stuff. Anyway, So it goes this super serious, in and out in 24 hours, coming in, whatever. My buddy, who is, he's a jokester, and he sits down with his interpreter in this serious meeting with this guy, and he says to the interpreter, he says, ask him if he wants to cut my head off. And the interpreter's like,
am I supposed to laugh at that?
No, yes. Well, the interpreter's like, no, I will not. He goes, no, ask him. He's like, no, I cannot ask him that question. He's like, ask him the question, And so the interpreter asks him the question, and the sheikh starts laughing.
Yeah.
And he said it broke the ice. And then they actually were supposed to stay 24 hours. They end up staying 36 hours. Sheikh takes him to a mosque where they went with him. And once he went to the mosque, built trust, he then said, can you come with me to a church? Wow. It was a burned out church building with all these Christians hiding out. He says, can you help get these people out of Iraq?
So good.
And it was just a moment I will never forget, that story of that breaking of the ice through this. Who knows, if he doesn't say that joke, is the trust built at all? Maybe, maybe not. But I think there's some things that humor can do to break through. Anyway, so what do you think? Do you have some?
That's powerful. And I had one in mind, but I'm not going to share it because I don't think I can top that.
Okay, well, you know what?
But you know what I was going to say is that's a great example of how doors can open. And it's like you can get into a routine. It's like some preachers, will begin with a joke. You don't have to. Some get irritated by it, but why do many do that? When you publicly speak, it's almost like, well, you want to become likable. John Maxwell, who teaches on leadership, says, they first buy into the leader before they buy into the vision. Mm-hmm. So I don't need to be funny to be liked, but if I've got a sense of humor that people might see, well, he's kind of likable. It could help me be a little more likable. Not that I'm looking for likes. Right. But I am looking to engage.
That's right.
And it comes back to if that's me, then let it come out, because then the right people will be attracted, to work together with me.
Yeah. Yeah, and I will just finish up by saying I was going to finish with a time travel joke, but you didn't like it. So, anyway, I thought I had you. I thought I was going to catch you off guard. Oh, anyway, did you have a final one?
I got a joke for you.
Okay, let's go.
Is this part of the competition because I'm in the lead?
No, we're done. We're done with competition.
So I can say anyone here. Okay, I've got one. Why do crabs never volunteer?
I don't know.
Because they're shellfish.
Nice. Okay, nothing. All right, folks. With that, we are going to finish up this episode of the importance of humor. Hopefully you took something from it. Hopefully you're engaging all of the Ready, Set, Go podcasts at readysetgo.world. Have a great day.